What's up, guys? We're going to continue with some of our passing series. We're going to talk about how to get more leg drags in no gi. So leg drags are a huge favorite in the gi because you have the grip on the pants where you can start moving their legs around really easily and start getting angles. And leg drags in no gis are a lot less common because of the fact that we don't have those grips. But there's still ways that we can perform different maneuvers when passing a supine opponent to get a lot of leg drags. So if Jake is on the ground, let's say he's on a supine position, he's laying down, and he's got his, come this way a little bit. So he's laying down and he's got his knees to his chest. This is how people will be when you come and approach them in a supine guard. So like we talked about in some of the other videos, when we come to approach a supine player, we don't come in and just reach wherever we want. We actually want to grab onto the ankles first. So this is going to depend on where his feet are in relation to his knees. Right now, Jake's ankles are below his knees. So it's great for me to do a downwards grip on the ankles. If his legs were higher than his knees, now we go to an Achilles grip and we do things like pulling him over to stack him. We won't get into that today, but that's just the way that we want to look at this when we approach a supine guard player. So if he's got the downward ankle position, it's a great time for us to go into leg drags. So we still want to get this position where our legs are back. We come in, we make connection with our hands first onto his ankles, and then what we're looking to do is move from one of the hands being on the ankles to one of them being on the knee. And now what we want to try to get to is pulling the remaining ankle grip to the side and pushing this knee down. Once we get this position, we're trying to take our knee and put it through the hole, and we want to cover his knee with our rib cage and our armpit. So now he can't bring it back. He tries to turn into me. He can't bring it back. And as you guys know, leg drags are a very, very dominant position to get to because we can do things like leg riding. We can do things like leg entries. We can do things like taking the back. So it's a very, very dominant pin to get into. And honestly, it's a better pin than a lot of the pins that we're taught to look for points in terms of like side control or sometimes even mount. Leg drags can be even more beneficial than those. So this is really important to learn. But what we're gonna do is come in, grab both ankles, and what we're looking to do is move from one hand being on the ankle to one being on the knee. So now we have one on the knee and one on the ankle. We push the knee down. And as this is happening, he's gonna be extending to try to get rid of these grips. So I'm just guiding this hand, this other leg, past my hips. If we get it to this position, I didn't get my leg drag. Now he's gonna go into some kind of form of guard, probably a De La Hiva or something like that. So what we're looking to do, and this is what I see most of the time when people are drilling this, they mess it up. We get double ankle grips, we move one hand to the knee, we push it down, and they don't guide it by, they just let this one get caught here. This isn't gonna get you to a leg drag, it's gonna get you into maybe head quarter passing, float passing, things like that. But we're looking for leg drags here. So we get double ankle grips, one hand goes to the knee, and as we're pushing him down, he's gonna be having a tension in the legs because he already feels an angle's being created, and we're guiding this by our hip. Once we've guided it by our hip, we're trying to bring the near leg through the hole. Once the near leg is through the hole, we can push on this knee to cover his knee with my armpit. So it's in between my armpit and my rib cage. It's a lot like shelving the leg from a low single. So once we get here, he can't bring it back. He needs to turn in this direction to get his leg back. So try to turn. It's much harder once I cover it. If I didn't cover it, try to turn. He can bring it back. He can bring it back. He might even knee you in the jaw. Sorry. So when we get here, I grab double ankle grips. I go one hand to the knee, and then I push down and guide this by. Once I guide this by, bringing my knee through the hole to staple his leg, covering his knee with my armpit, and finishing here. So one more time on the other side, grabbing the ankle, going to the knee, and guiding this by into this position, covering it, and starting from here. Another thing we can do is we don't actually have to get the entire leg drag. So sometimes guys think that the leg drag has failed if we don't get into that flush position where we bring our knee through the hole. So what they always want is this, where we get our hand under the knee, we guide this by, and now we put our knee through the hole. But a lot of times you might get only halfway here and you don't quite get to that angle that you need to actually put your knee through the hole, staple his leg, and start pinning him. So what this will look like is we have hands on the ankles, I'm moving to a knee, I'm passing it by, and I really only get to here and he's already shifting his hips and facing towards me again, right? So this is actually not a failed attempt. We can use this. So when we get here, go back square, we're coming here, he's starting to turn. I just want to straddle his legs with mine. So I'm bringing both knees in and I'm pinching it. So now, even though I haven't totally solidified this pin here and then this leg drag, he still has no ability to face me because I'm holding my legs across his and I'm straddling onto him. I'm keeping my head low, and I'm gonna grab onto his leg. So now Jake tries to put me back in guard, and I just walk with him. I walk with him. I walk with him until he gets tired, and I'm gonna put my leg through the hole and finish the leg drag pin. So one more time. This is incredibly valuable. It's almost more valuable than the full leg drag because more often than not, especially if you have a really spinning, inverted, prone opponent that likes to play guard a lot, they're gonna start moving their hips immediately once you start creating these angles. So instead of looking for the full leg drag, we look for the ability to straddle the leg. This is what Danaher calls it, straddling the leg. So when we get here, we're grabbing both grips on the ankles, pushing the knee down, guiding it by, and he turns. So now I'm just straddling the leg. I walk in tight to him. I don't want to stay where I am, because if I stay where I am, he's going to keep dipping his leg and start getting his leg back. So I need to walk with him when we do this. So we get in here, I push the leg down, guide it by, straddle the leg, he tries to go. I follow him, I follow him, I follow him. I should always be able to follow him and beat him in this race because I'm standing and he's on his back. Even the quickest guard players are going to have a hard time dealing with this just because of the differential and efficiency of movement. We're human, we're built to be moving standing up. He's not built to be moving on his back like that. So if he comes this way a little bit, one more time, I get double ankle grips, I push the knee down, guide it by. I don't get all the way there, but I straddle the leg. Now he's trying to get me back in guard. I just follow, I follow, I follow until we can get to a point where we can push this by and cover it with our armpit and go back into the leg drag. So these are two really, really excellent ways to get into leg drags. And I'm gonna show you one more variation that's also very valuable. So some of you guys actually probably do this a lot in the gym, but some of you like to try to pin the leg as you run to the outside. So when we're trying to look for angles, like we talked about in some of the other videos, there are different ways we can use footwork to actually get really good angles, like stepping off to a side and then crescent stepping to his hip line. But some people really enjoy not giving up any of these grips and trying to come out to the outside and pin one leg to the floor. You probably have like a lot of white belts that like to do this, and they don't really do anything with it. But there is ways to actually use this very usefully. So if Jake is a good guard player, if you come forward a little bit, if Jake is a good guard player, what he knows is that when I come out to any side to him, he's always gonna keep his opposite side knee to his body. So when I come out to the side, he can come onto an angle and he can extend with this leg and play and try to connect, but he doesn't want to extend this leg. He wants to keep it close to his body so that if I ever get past this one's still here to stop me from gaining a connection at the upper body. So if we know this, when we come out to the outside, we have double ankle grips, we start getting an angle and turn his hips onto the floor. I put this ankle onto the floor and pin it. And now Jake is still being a good guard player and not falling for extending his leg where maybe now I can start running just right over it, right? That would be lazy guard play on his part. So he's keeping his leg close to his body. I'm pinning this one. And now what I'm looking to do is bring my chest over his shin and hold onto this. So I'm grabbing it like this, and then I'm walking in close and covering it. And now all I want to do is jump my hips back and do one big jump in this direction. And then I can put my knee inside and go with my armpit over his knee to solidify the pin. So one more time. We're coming out to the outside. We're turning his hips in this direction. He's being a good guard player and he's keeping this knee to his chest. So instead of just trying to pass in this direction, where eventually I have to deal with this knee and he's gonna bring it back inside and get his guard back, what I'm gonna do instead is getting into this position and then putting my chest over it and holding it so you can't extend. And now I start jumping across the other side and put my knee inside and cover it. This is a really good way to keep somebody pinned, especially a really Gumby guard player, somebody who's very disciplined, because that knee is always gonna be at the chest. So one more time, bring him up to the side. He's got his knee to his chest like a good guy would, and I'm holding onto this, and then I'm moving out to the side, and I'm bringing my knee inside. I wanna flatten this out with my chest and bring my armpit over it. This is more important than coming close. It's just bringing my armpit and shooting it over the knee so that I can connect my knee and elbow and make it so that Jake can't move. So now that we've talked about some ways to get into it, let's talk about some ways to control it and then how to move to different finishes. We won't get super into it. If you guys like it, we can do more videos on this, but I wanna give you a little bit so you can use this position. Let's have Jake on the floor. Let's say we did any number of our ways to get to the leg drag. We went here, and I grabbed onto this leg, jumped out to the side, got into the leg drag. When we get here, a really good way to control somebody for long periods of time in a leg drag is to reverse engineer what they need to get out of it. So for Jake to get out of this position, what he needs is to turn his shoulders this direction and then dip his knee and bring it back in front of us and then get his guard back. right? So you saw what the first movement was there. The first movement was for him to turn his shoulders. So if I can control his shoulders, it's gonna be increasingly difficult for him to get out of this position. And if we do it correctly, we can keep him here for extended periods of time. So when we get here, we're stapling onto the leg, and then I'm taking my hand and I'm going over top as a crossface. Once I go over top as a crossface, I'm taking my hand and I'm connecting a 10-finger grip. Once I've connected a 10-finger grip, I'm taking my elbow and I'm planting it on the floor. So now this shoulder is completely pinned to the mat. Try to turn. He can't even begin to do his escapes to get out of here. I can hold him here for a really, really long time. So again, as we get here, we go into the leg drag and we're looking to get this crossface. We go to the center line. We don't go wide so that he can block my arm. I go to the center line, come up top to get this crossface. And now I'm taking my other arm and I'm connecting a 10-finger grip and bringing my elbow to the mat. Now he tries to turn into me. He can't even begin the escape of getting his legs pointed towards me. He needs to move his shoulders first, not just his legs. His legs are already pointed away. So he needs to use his upper body to get better position with his lower body, and right now he can't. So once we get here, we can do all kinds of things that we want. We could just pass out to the side if we want. We could also try to go to things like power rides where we're moving our legs to the inside and splitting his legs and then moving into cross faces and starting to put pressure on him. Or we can even do one of my favorites, which is to go into the legs. So once we get here, we could go into this and exhaust him and melt him here for a while and then eventually let go. And we're gonna do a little bit of an athletic movement, but not too much. We're just gonna put our weight onto this knee and then I'm gonna throw my leg over and into this hole. So as he's trying to open this, I'm trying to open this leg. I throw my leg over and fall right into the cross hashi. I wanna lift this inside knee so that it makes space for me to throw my other one in and then also grab double trouble so we can gain control over the secondary leg. So we're in our position, bringing our hand to the center line as a cross face, 10-finger grip. We're putting our elbow on the mat so he can't turn into me. As he's trying to turn into me, he puts in a big effort and then I let go and I throw this one over. I raise my other leg so it makes a big access to the hole and it brings this other leg towards me. Now I can grab both legs and we can go into a very dominant form of cross hashi there. So those are just some of the ways that I like to play leg drag, and it's a really valuable position to get good at because of the fact that it creates such a strong angle and it creates such a big level of work rate for my partner to actually get his guard back. So you guys should try it, play with it, let me know how you like it, and as always, this is Big Jake and Eddie with Crash and Flow BJJ.